I'm kind of a complicated kind of guy because my mother is half Indian and half white, and my dad is half white and half black. So I'm pretty mixed up. I was born in the Caribbean, in a little British island called Grenada. I came to Canada in 1970, and I joined the Calgary Board of Education for 6 years. And then I joined the Calgary Police Service in 1976, and I stayed there till 2002. I think at that time I would be the second visible minority to appear before the board, and they hired me. Calgary back then, I don't think it was even 1 million people. The Calgary Police Service at that time was 1,500. But back then, Calgary was very easy, I would say, city to work in. Crime was low, gas station robberies, car theft, stuff like that. I used to get a lot of comments from the public. Go have a good day, you're doing a good service, thanks for your service and all that. The public didn't care who I was as long as I wore the uniform, but the guys on the job was a little different. Other officers used to drive up beside us and say, wind your window down. When we wind the window down, he used to look at my partner and say, how could you stand working with him? Meaning me. And at the Coffin Billy, whenever I went up for a drink, they would say, why are you coming through the main door? Why don't you come through the back door? In the locker room where I had my locker, they would say things like, you shouldn't be in here. The only reason why you should be in here is to clean our boots. You know, I was doing detective training, and the guy that was training me, he was connected with social services at the time. And one of the social workers asked him, what are you doing these days? He said, I'm training out a nigger. That one stood with me. That one hit me in the face real hard. Because I didn't think I was a nigger. I didn't think at any time I was a nigger. She says, who are you talking about? He said, I'm talking about Neville Wells. And she said, I know Neville. You definitely shouldn't call him a nigger. And she said, you take it back. She said, if you don't take it back, I'm going to slap you. That's what she said. And he took it back. That one stood out for me more than anything else. That derogatory name that he called me, I didn't take it up with him. I had to take that up. They'll just laugh at you and send you there. So what? You have a thin skin, or you want to be a police officer? I was the only one at the time that didn't want to rock the boat, sort of. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think if I was younger when I joined, I would have quit. But I was 33 years old when I joined. It sort of just bounced off me. I didn't really think that it was my fault. I didn't think it was me that I am who I am. I can't change that. But the people that made these comments, it's their problem, not mine. And that's how I handled it. I had mentors that took over and sort of looked after me. Sergeant Norm Hagstrom, he was very good. He said, I heard you were coming. I heard there's some stories about you, but we'll make sure that you're all right. And after I was through with him, I think I spent 2 or 3 years there. The highest rating any officer could have got at that time was 7. And when I left, I was getting 7s. After a while, after 2 years, they kind of accepted me. I think what happened was they saw that I myself portrayed myself as a person with dignity and respect. They offered me guys that kept coming out of the college to train them. And the only reason why you get a guy to train is because they think a lot about you. So I trained out about 6 new guys on the street. I went around the block a few times. I went to communications for a year. I went to the juvenile section with a social worker. Then I went to hit and run. And I went back to District 6. On the books, I was a senior officer, getting promoted. But it just didn't seem to work for me. Because, I personally think people promote people like themselves, and I wasn't like them. When I went up for promotion in 1989, there was one guy went up for promotion with me in District 6. He was the laziest guy I ever saw. didn't do anything. You had to light a fire under him to do anything. And he got promoted, and I didn't. So everybody was wondering what happened there. I knew what happened, but everybody was wondering what happened. It was frustrating, but I got more recognition and accolades from the public than I did from the police department, which was comforting. Then I went to Cultural Resources where I spent 8 years. I created a class where the police officers will have face-to-face meeting with members of the ethnic community. And every day they would have a different ethnic food brought in. And after the class was over, from Monday through Friday, the police officers and the members of the community that came into that class became friends. I know they became friends because some have called me and said, I'm having coffee with so-and-so constable next week. Talking to people makes a difference. And I think the department needs the cultural resources users, at least when I was there. They needed that unit to bridge the gap between the police service and the communities out there. And the diversity unit has to maintain that classroom service between the guys on the street and the community. I used to have trouble getting the sergeants to send me one guy. Well, we don't need it, but when anything happens, they call me. You're not going to build trust that way. But now I think they have a lot of ethnic police officers, and the community sees that. They see that the Calgary Police Service reflects the community that they serve. We have the school resource officers. We have the cultural resources unit. We go out to all the functions. They know who we are. There's a bond and there's a trust between the police and the community. If you don't have that trust, you have nothing.